Good afternoon, everyone. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Denise Williams, and I am a retired registered nurse, a longtime resident of the Back Mountain, and I currently serve on Luzerne County Council. Throughout my career and volunteer work, whether it was helping seniors remain independent in their homes through my work with the Commission on Economic Opportunity, or serving in the religious education program for over 2 decades at my home parish, St. Teresa's in Shavertown, or working to promote fair and transparent elections with Fair Districts PA, or as chair of the Luzerne County Board of Elections, I have always believed that public service is about putting people first. Over the last several years, I have had the opportunity to get to know Fern and to observe her commitment to our community. When I made the decision to run for county council, Fern and Shannon were one of the first people to reach out immediately and offer help, assistance, advice. They both spent several hours in my dining room with my campaign manager, myself, Diane Dreyer and myself, and explaining all the different aspects of the campaign trail. I almost decided not to run after I heard all the work that was involved. There were many times since that day that I have reached out for advice from both of them, Fern and Shannon, and they were always so welcoming and willing to help out, give advice, encouragement, whatever. So, thank you for all being here today to support Fern. Thank you to all the volunteers, the supporters, elected officials, committee members, community leaders, friends, and neighbors who made time to come here today. Before we begin, I'd like to offer a very special thank you to a very special person, and that is Estella Killian. Yeah. Events like this don't happen on their own, I know that. From running a campaign myself. And behind every successful campaign are people who quietly step up. They lend a hand and they never ask for recognition. And Estella has been one of those people for Fern from the very beginning. And she was also one of those people for my campaign as well. She has opened doors for Fern's campaign in more ways than one can count. She has helped organize events like today's fundraiser, generously provided office space, supported volunteers, helped build connections throughout the community, and consistently found ways to help whenever help was needed. More importantly, she has remained a loyal friend and steadfast supporter of Fern and her campaign through every challenge, every milestone, and every step of the journey. Fern's campaign has been built by people who believe in our community and are willing to invest their time, energy, and resources to make it stronger. And Estella embodies that spirit. On behalf of Fern, all of her volunteers, and everyone involved in her campaign, thank you, Estella, she's right over there, for your generosity, your friendship, and your unwavering support. We are all deeply grateful for everything you have done and continue to do. Let's give Estella another well-deserved round of applause. Now, before we continue, I'd like to say a few more words about Fern. I have found that the best leaders are people who show up, listen carefully, do their homework, treat others with respect, and stay focused on serving their communities. Those are qualities I value deeply, and they are exactly the qualities I see in Fern Leard. What impresses me the most about Fern is her dedication, and all of you know how dedicated she is, her work ethic, and her genuine concern for the people she serves. She approaches issues thoughtfully, she works collaboratively, and understands that leadership is about finding solutions and moving communities forward. Fern has also become a fierce advocate and watchdog on issues that matter greatly to our region, especially data center development, utility rates, and local zoning protections. She is consistently present at township, county, public utility meetings, asking the tough questions, listening to residents, and making sure community concerns are not overlooked. That kind of preparation and persistence is rare, and it speaks volumes about her commitment to protecting taxpayers and local communities. Just as importantly, Fern is simply a genuinely good person who conducts herself with professionalism and integrity at all times. In today's political environment, that kind of steady, respectful leadership really matters. Fern believes in accessible, accountable government and understands the importance of listening to residents and addressing the issues that matter most to them. She is exactly the kind of person we need representing the people of the 120th District in Harrisburg. It is an honor for me to support her campaign. Today we come together to support Fern, and if you know Fern, you know this. She listens, she does her homework, and she shows up time and time again. She never forgets who she's fighting for, the residents, families, and communities of the 120th District. Whether she's advocating for responsible growth, standing up for ratepayers, or making sure local voices are heard, she approaches every issue with determination and purpose. She will be a tireless and relentless advocate for the people she represents. I know that, and we all know that. Thank you for being here today, for believing in her campaign, and for helping us build something special for the future of the 120th District. Now, we all know that real change happens when communities organize, neighbors get involved, and ordinary people decide to take action. Our next speaker has dedicated her career to helping people do exactly that. PA Stands Up has been a friend and partner to Fern throughout her efforts to serve this community. They have provided guidance, support, training, encouragement, and a reminder that none of us do this work alone. Fern and her campaign are incredibly grateful for their partnership, for their belief in Fern, and their commitment to building power in communities across Pennsylvania. And Carrie has some exciting news to share with everyone today. Please join me in welcoming the Executive Director of PA Stands Up, Carrie Santoro.
Thank you, Denise. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. My name is Carrie Santoro. Like Denise said, I'm the Executive Director of Pennsylvania Stands Up. Before I get into that and before I get into why we're so excited and so committed to supporting Fern this year, I want to tell you a little bit about myself and why this work is so important to me. I was raised with very strong Pennsylvania Dutch values by a kick-ass single mom in rural Berks County, Pennsylvania. I saw my mom working really hard while hearing the stories that so many of us are told about ourselves and each other, about money and power in this country, that being poor is a moral failure rather than a systemic one. I did not know that you could vote twice a year every year until I was 27 years old, and I did not care. I did not believe that people in power would care about someone like me, at that time, a single mom working 3 part-time jobs and on public assistance, just like my mom did. And I really believed the lies that this country so often sells us, that I'm powerless to change anything. That really changed for me when I wandered into a community organizing meeting back in 2014, looking to make meaning of how badly I was struggling and looking for any action that I could take to change a fundamentally unjust system that sets us up to fail and then blames and shames us for the very conditions that keep us down, divided, and desperate. Over the past 12 years, I've organized multiracial working class communities through electoral campaigns, labor, faith, and immigrants' rights organizations, and I have seen the power of people coming together across difference to close the gap between the world as it is and the world as we know that it can be. 12 years in, and the thing that keeps me up at night is that today, only 17% of Americans trust the government to do what's right. A lot of days, even after 12 years of organizing, I can really relate to that 83%. We only need to look around to see why so many people's faith is really shaken. We see that our friends, our families, and our neighbors are struggling to get by in a state with one of the most regressive tax systems in the country, higher deaths of despair rates than the national average, and we see corporations like Google and Amazon and Meta and Jeffrey Yass's TikTok making billions by flooding our screens with ads and selling our personal information, while many of them are driving the data center development in our neighborhoods that most of us don't want. But I keep myself grounded in my values that my mom raised me with, that we work hard, we look out for our neighbors, and we don't back down to bullies. At Pennsylvania Stands Up, we organize in rural and small town Pennsylvania because we recognize a few truths. If we're not organizing our people, someone else is. And sometimes to change the rules, you really got to change the rule makers. We also know that this year we need to move with the ambition that this moment demands of us. Our goal at Pennsylvania Stands Up this year is to flip the state Senate and to widen our margin in the state House. And we know that our path to governing, yes! We know that our path to governing power runs through districts like HD 120, which is why PA Stands Up State PAC is deeply invested in Fern Leard's campaign. PA Stands Up has been really proud to stand alongside Fern for years, and at a time when so many of our faith in government is shaken, myself included, I know that I really trust Fern to represent us in that Capitol building when I know it's really hard. We trust Fern to continue to be who she has always been, a public leader who is very serious about power, who is so rooted, deeply rooted in her community, and who will carry the interest of a multiracial working class with her into the halls of the Capitol building. At PA Stands Up, we define power as the ability to get what we want, and we build power by organizing people, ideas, and money. And being real, if we want people, working class people, to take the risk of running for office and answer the call to serve in our state legislature, we need to put our money where our mouths are. Because of Fern's commitment to the people of her district, the sophistication of her campaign, PA Stands Up is going to be matching the donations of the campaign kickoff today. So simply put, every dollar donated today will be doubled, giving Fern's campaign twice the resources to reach voters and build momentum heading into November. And we all need Fern to get through that finish line in November. We are so proud to support Fern, and we're grateful to everyone who's here today, who's investing in this campaign, be it through your time, your treasury, or your talent. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I think I'm passing it back to Denise. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Our next speaker is someone who has never been afraid to speak up, ask the tough questions, and challenge the status quo. While many elected officials look for the safest political path, Katie Muth has built a reputation for being independent, outspoken, and unwavering in her commitment to working families and everyday Pennsylvanians. As the senator representing Pennsylvania's 44th district, Katie has consistently demonstrated a willingness to tackle difficult issues and hold powerful interests accountable. Whether the issue involves government transparency, consumer protections, labor rights, or corporate influence, she has never hesitated to advocate for what she believes is right. Today, she is helping lead one of the most important policy discussions facing our Commonwealth. As communities across Pennsylvania grapple with the rapid expansion of large-scale data centers, Katie has been at the forefront of efforts to ensure residents have a voice in the decisions that will affect their neighborhoods, utility rates, infrastructure, environment, and quality of life. Her call for a 3-year moratorium reflects her belief that Pennsylvania should proceed thoughtfully and responsibly before making decisions with long-term consequences. That takes conviction, that takes leadership, and it is one of the reasons so many people across Pennsylvania respect her. Katie is a leader who does her homework, asks the hard questions, and refuses to accept easy answers when the stakes are high for the people she represents. We are honored to have her here with us today. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to State Senator Katie Muth.
Am I allowed to move this?
Yes.
I'm a mover. I'm just not a podium person. Thank you. Thank you. I'd rather be closer to all of you. First, before I even introduce myself, I want to apologize for my tardiness. There's a lot of road construction, which is a good thing. That means roads are getting fixed, but it's summer and it took me a little longer than I anticipated to arrive today. So my apologies for any delay in your remaining of your day if you plan on leaving early. And thank you for staying. I'm Senator Katie Muth. I represent Senate District 44. I was driving through part of my Senate district and then into Senator Pennycook's district as I was coming to here today. And on my way here, I think you should all know that there was a no data center protest in Upper Perkiomen Valley right in the middle of town as I was driving through. And there were signs for no data centers for multiple places that I drove through, some of which I didn't even know were proposed. So that's informative, uplifting, and also terrifying all at once. So I want to say I've learned the hard way in now I'm almost done in my 8th year of office, which makes me feel terribly old that I'm ending my 2nd term. But I used to be just like Fern. 2018, I was in a seat, that nobody thought. I think people know that Fern has a better shot than what people thought I had in 2018. My district was very red. Never had a Democrat represent it. Parts of 3 counties, very gerrymandered, still is. And nobody thought it went, so no one really cared, right? I didn't have all this like immense opposition and like crazy trackers and all this stuff, right? It was over 400 volunteers that grew from 2017 local elections, from township supervisor to school board, to this massive army of just wonderful humans that I had no money. When I say it took me 6 months to raise $45,000, if my husband were here, you'd see his face with this like just PTSD look on his face, because we would trade off doing call time because I could not quit my job to run for office, which is very difficult when you are not from a political family and you're not wealthy, right? So we would take turns. We were both in sports medicine, depending on whose teams were in season, who was going to call people for money at night. And we were very excited if someone gave us $25 over the phone. Very excited. I remember the first time a lady, wonderful woman in Pittsburgh, gave me $1,000 on my lunch break doing call time in the freezing cold of my car. And I was so elated. God bless her, Martha. And so I remember all the donors because I take zero corporate PAC money. I take zero special interest money. I'm like this unicorn in the state Senate. And I think that's an important thing because Pennsylvania has no campaign finance limits, meaning you all right now could write me or Fern a check for $10 million, $20 million, $100 million, and it's perfectly legal, which is like bananas, right? Like that just defies common sense. And so when you win that way and you don't need the help of these for sake of it being Sunday, involved people in Harrisburg, it kind of ruffles feathers, right? Because you come in on this not bought and paid for way. I didn't owe anybody any favors. All I knew was there's a bunch of people that helped me got elected by knocking over 100,000 doors in a very partially rural Senate district. So my district is very eclectic. I think now it has over 200 Democrats, but there's over 30-some thousand independent voters. And the statistics stated earlier about the lack of trust in government, I think is why we see this shift to the non-party affiliated, because I'm going to be very frank with you. The Capitol, Harrisburg, the dome of corruption is what I call it, is infiltrated with political, corporate politicians. It's corporate politicians on both sides of the aisle. And it is a tremendous amount of pressure to be like that. And so I have helped other electeds, now elected, run for office and have watched them turn. And so I haven't done this in a while. I haven't come out for a candidate like this. I haven't driven, an hour and 45 minutes to come and support someone because I'm weary, right? Like I've watched people drink the Kool-Aid. And it's hard, I get it. But I've watched Fern, and she didn't even know who I was, but in the first time she ran, used to drive through this area to come back from Bradford County, whole separate story of environmental disaster that just got prosecuted by the Attorney General. I spent a lot of time there in that summer, but I saw your yard signs everywhere, Fern, and I'm like, who is this lady? I love her name. What is this? Great yard sign. If you can read a yard sign, you get like an A+ from me as you're driving by it. And so to run again is a big deal too, right? To lose and still want to do this says a lot about your character. And so to me, that means you care. Nobody does this because, there's some people, but that want to be important, get their picture taken, right? Like you see an unmet need in your community and you're doing this again. And hopefully your desire to actually serve the public overcomes any sort of partisan situation in this district, right? Because what did I just tell you? I flipped a red seat blue. I got reelected with like $3 million put up against me for absolutely no reason because I won by 12 points the second time, right? And so again, people will light money on fire to try to knock you out because you tell the truth. And here we are. What am I doing here today is I'm assuming you've been following, at least Fern has, some of the stuff we've been doing on data centers. And it is eerily similar to what happened at the beginning of fracking, but different in that people were being paid to have their land used, right? And so people were making money, still are making money, which, whatever, we're not here to debate that. The difference is we are all subsidizing what's happening right now. So for this rare moment in time, it's totally rare, the whole damn state is mad about the same thing. And that's the starting point, right? That we, for multiple years, over 5 years now, on both the transmission side of our electric bill and the distribution side of our electric bill, we have been subsidizing the build out of massive hyperscale AI data centers in other states, as well as the preparation for what could be built, I'm saying could, be built here. And so why? Why are we forced to pay for this and now be threatened to have to live next to it? Right? And I'm not here to debate whether we want to talk about do we need all these things are very important conversations. My focus right now is there is absolutely no method to this madness. It is a gold rush to see who can get approval first, many of which, at least in my area, will plan to sell that approval. They don't have yet an end user. It's like somebody who bought a brownfield, doesn't want to remediate it, it's going to get this approval, and in very highly populated areas. So again, unlike the fracking boom where you had fracking pipelines is my part of the state, right? There's no gas wells, but there's a lot of pipelines and some refineries. This is happening rurally. This is happening right in the middle of Senate District 44 where there's hundreds of people living in neighborhoods with this, 50 acres of industrially zoned land. And so why is it just sort of me, and I'll give Jamie Walsh, Representative Jamie Walsh, she invited me to Data Center Alley in January, and I went on a little field trip. And no one else wanted, to go on that field trip, but I'm a visual person. I like to see how things are, how they, I don't want to say work, but how they're set up so that I better understand what policy, it's hard to make a policy if you don't know all the things, right? And so going there was very unsettling is the best word I can say. And I don't know about you. I don't care what industrial operation it is. I do not want it 500, 1,000, 2,500 feet. I don't want it anywhere near where I spend the majority of my time, which is home. You spend 1/3 of your life sleeping. Did you know that? So you better buy a good mattress that doesn't have any toxins and chemicals in it. I give you a recommendation later. Because you sleep on that mattress for 1/3 of your life. 1/3 of your life. All the time that you need to sleep, to rest, to become a functional human being every morning could suddenly just be ripped away from you because somebody wants to build this massive thing that's going to surveillance everything, including, if you don't know what surveillance pricing is, this will make you really mad, Google it later, a lot of YouTube videos on it. I think More Perfect Union has a good one. Every click we make, someone is trying to decide how much we're going to pay for it. You and I buy the same thing online at Kohl's. I don't know what you paid, you don't know what I paid. We're both in the pickup line. We have no idea, and it's the same damn thing. Perfectly legal in Pennsylvania. So all of this mining of our data is just, it's just this hyper way to make money, right? It is greed at at the highest we've ever seen it. And we need people like Fern and Harrisburg to sit in that Democratic, and I'm going to say it because it's Democratic majority, so this is a love affair of both sides here, and be the voice in the room, which would be hard. She's going to be new. Being new is really hard. The first 3 months, us new senators, we got sworn in 2019, we used to text each other across the room. We're like, why aren't we talking about what's in this bill? Do you know what page 7 means? And it took 3 months for one of us to ask a fucking question because nobody talked about anything. It was the most bizarre thing. And finally, we would trade questions. I would ask someone else's questions so you didn't feel the heat. And we had this whole system. In the Democratic minority we've been in the minority for 30 years, right? And so that's the vibe in there. Just vote how you're told. This is the thing. I appreciate Denise saying that I do my homework. I do my homework. I lose sleep over reading things. I try my damnedest to keep up with all the things and be informed, right? Make informed decisions. And I'm human. I've made probably 2 votes. I'm really mad at myself. I didn't know any better at the time. Happy enough to admit that. But again, make an informed decision and not be a good foot soldier of a party. And that's why we need people like Fern and Harrisburg, because I watch a lot of my colleagues literally just do what they're told. I watch leadership get text messages from certain stakeholders that will benefit from the build out of these massive places, change a single vote in our caucus within 90 seconds. The whole, almost, minus myself and Senator Lindsey Williams, must give credit. And Senator Saval was on the train this last time, so I can't throw him in there. But change the whole thing on really ridiculous things even, like amendments, like voting with Republicans on amendment, just things that they vote down they table every damn amendment we put up. Why would we vote with them, right? Just strategically. We're not here, this isn't a game, this is people's lives. And so we need more people like Fern to sit in a room of people who are kind of cowardly, right? There's some good people. I know there's good people and courageous people are 2 different things, right? And so in government in general, if we just have a bunch of people who are really nice to each other in this, lovely dome, that's not going to change the outcome of how people live their daily life. That's not going to make things more affordable. If I hear one more person talk about affordability but don't tell us when things are going to get more affordable, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind. Because you can't just say the word and expect people to vote for you. And here's a stark reminder for Democrats. First 2 years Joe Biden was in the White House, he had a trifecta. Did you see the federal minimum wage go up? Did you see the Voting Rights Act expanded? See anything else super Democratic policy get through? Because there are corporate Democrats that will stop those types of votes, even the minimum wage. And so until there are people that can lead with courage all the time, this will be what will be. And I believe that Fern coming to Harrisburg will change the tide across the hallway in the big, big dome, and it won't be so corrupt, and she'll be able to make a dent in that, right? And show her colleagues there's a different way of being a leader, right? Being a leader doesn't mean that everybody likes you all the time, especially amongst your peers. Not a damn person in Senate District 44 voted for me so that I could be most popular in Harrisburg, I assure you. Nobody did. Nobody did, right? It's not a popularity contest. And there may never be a Katie Muth bill passed in the legislature, but I rest my head on a lovely pillow every evening and think, I stopped a lot of bad from happening just by telling the truth, right? And right now, we need the truth, and we need all of you to motivate our Democratic governor to use his authority. Yes. In case you didn't know, we have 2 moratoriums right now in Pennsylvania enacted through executive order. You know, we have a president who loves executive orders. We have a governor who had some executive orders of his own. Please Google those. I found some of them to be very troubling, I was unaware of. A pilot for the whole state government with ChatGPT in 2025, you know, AI advancement, EO. That's very similar to the White House, wouldn't you say? So if a governor can enact a moratorium on the death penalty, which is still enacted as we speak, and because it doesn't work, it's not a deterrent to crime, it doesn't, and many wrongful convictions. And we have a moratorium on fracking on DCNR land, which is like state parkland. Although Senator Gene Yaw just dropped a memo that mentions he'd like to make some revenue off of drilling into the Utica, which I believe is below the Marcellus. They're doing that in Ohio, apparently. And he'd like to do that on the DCNR land. So I'm like, oh, is this like the little inadvertent slip up here, Gene, that you'd like to lift that moratorium? But my point is, legally, there are 2 executive order moratoriums. So it doesn't have to be my bill, right? My goodness, this could be all stopped tomorrow, today. And so we are going to have to push. If I drove here and saw all the things I saw, I was like, restored my faith in humanity that more people were paying attention. We have to grow this bubble, right? We have to grow all the people that don't know the things we know, that we need to elect Fern, that we need to stand up against this, because this is going to happen like dominoes. The first one that gets approved, the first domino that falls, you have started a cluster down the power line. I have to get better at not driving by myself anymore, because I go off on field trips trying to find where the high voltage lines are and where they go, because I see them. I'm like, oh, where's the land? Pull over, looking at my hunting app that tells you who owns property. I'm like, who's this LLC? What is going on? Because we are infiltrated. During COVID, while we were all staying at home trying to stay alive, a lot of people were buying a lot of real estate. We had no idea, right? We were trying. Some of us were filing for unemployment. I mean, people were in a struggle, and there were big rich guys buying up land. And it's stoppable, but we need to elect people like Fern. We need to be like a force that is unstoppable. We have to. There is no other choice. And it is winnable if everyone sticks together. So that's why I don't mind driving up here, driving to wherever, to go to a local meeting, even though I don't represent them, because what happens, this is a statewide thing. Right? We're already all subsidizing it because we have a PUC that refuses to decline a rate request increase. Like, they're like, oh, you want 8%? That's, no, we're going to look like heroes and give you 6%. There's never been a flat no, which is just bananas to me. So there's that piece. There's a lot of fluffy legislation coming out of the House of Representatives that looks helpful. Read and question everything. If you leave here remembering anything, question everything and ask for a real answer. Ask for when. Ask for how. It's not in those bills. But electing people like Fern, she can sit in that room and say that to her peers. And say, hey, Senate Bill 18 or House Bill 1834 by Rob Matzey that's supposed to solve our problems, bring our own energy. My God, that sounds fantastic on paper. What it means is massive gas-fired turbines in your backyard alongside the hyperscale data center with no mandatory setback from where you live, where your kids play, where you work, where you sleep every day. That's what that means. Nothing in that bill that says can't be built right next to where you are. But hey, bring your own power. Bring your own power. And then because we'll have more, the prices will go down. this old age Ronald Reagan supply and demand thing. If we just have more of it, the market will take care of itself. We are the second largest gas producing state in the country. We should be paying nothing if that were true. We don't. Obviously, we all know that's not true, right? So question and ask for real answers. And these local government people, I believe in my heart and hearts, with some exceptions to this sentence, because some of it is just wow, that they are trying to make good decisions. Question their legal counsel. Do not let somebody who's a lawyer tell a board that something conflicts with the Constitution of our state, with the municipal planning code, or state law. If it feels off, you don't need to be an expert. You need to trust your gut and just be like, hey, what about this? What about that part of the municipal planning code that says these people here have to make decisions in the best interest of the public? Right? Because I assure you, the first step to this disaster happening is local control gets wiped and it goes to the state, because the state is rolling out the red carpet. And once Fern's in the room, she can yell at all those people on the Democratic side and say, hey, we have to get better. We're not listening to the people we represent. Not to mention the polling. If our governor wants to be the president of the United States, this is just me, from like a statistical thought process. If data center approval rating is at 17%, I think I just read, that math seems a little tricky to overcome. But again, I had to have a tutor in algebra at Penn State, so maybe my math, I've got an A in statistics though. But I just think, again, if I'm driving up here through multiple different counties and districts, and there are no data center signs everywhere. I mean, when I saw a little protest on the corner, I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so perfect as I'm on my way here. But again, you need to know that people like Fern being in the room changes the game. You will find that one person asking questions like I told you in 2019, some of the people that have been there for 20 years walk up to you after caucus and they're like, hey, I thought that, I wanted to ask that too. I'm like, well, what the f-? You've been here for 20 years. Like, what do you mean you're gonna ask? Like, why am I asking? Whatever. But like, again, it shows that just like when you're the kid in class, or even at these public meetings where people are like, I've never done public comment. I get it. Like, it's hard to cram your whole thought process into 3 minutes and have someone yelling at you and have a timer. I was put in timeout before in a public meeting in the hallway for 5 minutes. So again, like sometimes you have to push the rules so that the voices are heard, right? And you have a right to be in every one of these meetings. Your tax dollars pay for these attorneys, pay for these consultants, pay for the whole government to run. We the people, right? And we're subsidizing all these handouts. So until we have more people like Fern in the legislature, they do believe that the right people in office are the remedy to all of this. It's just we need to get them there. So thank you for listening to me. Thank you for supporting Fern. And I will add some more to my donation since I am late for the party today. And then PA Stands Up's gonna match it, so it's perfect. So throw in $5 more, helps Fern, 10 more bucks, whatever you can do. Because it's hard to do this, it's a heavy lift. My first campaign, I didn't even raise $300,000. This is a Senate race, so like 3 times the size of the district. People were like, what? And this year I'm going for like the lowest fund. I wanted the cheapest race because I think this whole campaign industrial complex is like bananas. So I'm like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like if there's going to be horrible things said about her, there'll be horrible things said about me, and there's now going to add in the AI, whatever. It's going to be me, kidnapping dogs or something, or whatever the thing is that they try. Like if they don't have anything on your voting record, they will just lie. So defend Fern in those lies. When you talk to neighbors and people that maybe aren't in our bubble, they're on the other side of the aisle and say that you go to church with, or you do, book club or whatever you do, no, that lady, Fern, she's trustworthy. And I assure you, there's a reason why a purple district like mine, I have the Republican committee in part of my district sharing my stuff on social media. It's like, well, I'm in the upside down, like in Stranger Things right now, but whatever, right? On this one thing. So you have to just tell people, get out of your party lines right now. There's too much at stake. because both sides have corporate politicians, so it's just really about the human. What are they going to do when they get there in that moment of pressure? Are they willing to be courageous enough to change the narrative or try to within their own caucus? And I believe Fern can do that. So thank you for supporting her. Thank you. Oh, wait, I'm supposed to introduce her. She's so amazing. Get up here. I forgot. This is your future state representative.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you, Senator Muth, for driving all of this way and for the lovely words that you've said. I did actually know who you were. Not very early, about 2022, you popped up on my radar. And in 2023, I completed the Emerge program, just as you did. And someone had said to me, your campaign reminds me of Katie Muth. And I said, I like her. I don't know what our campaign had in common. They said everyone was against her. Nobody thought she would flip that seat. And she went out and she knocked doors, said, do you know who your senator is? They said, no, don't you think that's a problem? And I said, I love her. I don't care that I've never met her. I absolutely love that because it does take talking to people on the ground. We need to actually hear what concerns people. There are so many different issues that the legislature has to conquer. We can't know all of them. I'm only human. I know a lot. I don't know everything, and that's fine. But I can't help you with the problem if I don't know about it. Point me in the right direction. I will always be honest with you. If I don't know something, I will tell you, I will look it up, and I will get back to you. I would like to thank everyone else for showing up today. It is really, really great to see so many familiar faces. It's really, really great to meet new ones. There are so many Democratic events where you walk in and it is the same 10, 15 people. And to see this room filled tells me that more and more people are paying attention, that our concerns are being heard, even if I'm the only one listening. But I'm not. We've got senators like Katie listening as well, because a lot of these problems affect the entire Commonwealth. And when I look around this room, I don't just see people attending a campaign event. I see neighbors. I see parents. I see grandparents. I see community. I see unity. I see us all coming together. And that's important. And I will tell you that this campaign was never supposed to get this far, if you listen to political insiders. The consultants, the people who think politics is something that happen in boardrooms, not neighborhoods. They will tell you, if you are not wealthy, you will not succeed. If you do not have corporate backing, you will not succeed. If you do not have lobbyists writing you 5-figure checks, you will not succeed. But they forgot something. They talk to each other so much that they forget to talk to the people. They forget who they are supposed to be representing. When they tell you that ordinary people can't compete with organized money, they have to remember that they need to stop telling us that we need to stay in our place. This is NEPA. We've never been great at listening to people tell us where we need to sit. And that's what this campaign is about. It's not about building political power. It's not about getting into the right rooms. It's not about joining a club. It's about representation. Not representing corporations, not representing lobbyists, not representing donors, but representing the people who cannot afford to buy a legislator. Think about how radical that is. I want to support the people. How crazy is it that we need to say that? And how crazy is it that we've gone to political event after political event, maybe you watch it on television, and we hear them say these words that I'm telling to you. We need to listen to the people. We need to work for the people. And we question whether or not they're telling the truth because we have been lied to so many times. I believe, Denise, you brought up the lack of trust in government before. They've given us reason to. It's my job to prove to you that I'm not one of them. And I think over these past couple of years, I have done just that. For far too long, they have counted us out. They've counted out the families struggling to keep up with rising costs. They've counted out the workers who are putting in 40, 50, 60 hours a week and still struggling to get by. They've counted out the people who have spent their entire lives saving and building and doing everything right, only to retire and have to worry whether or not they're going to be able to pay the next utility bill that comes in the mail. They've counted out rural communities. I cannot count how many times I was told, you are wasting your time knocking doors in the back mountain. And I would always say, I live in the back mountain. We're tired of being ignored. And the reality for us who live on that side of the district is that we have been ignored, but not just Democrats, everyone. The Republicans take the vote for granted, and the Democrats, until I came along, just did not try, or barely. There were some out there, but they definitely didn't spend a lot of time. People are shocked when they see a politician at their door. And then I have seen on more than one occasion the blood just drain from their face when it's a Democrat. You are out in this part? Yes, yes I am, because I want to know what's important to you. Because what's important to me might not jive with what the problem you're having is. But the job is to conquer all of them. The job is to make life better for everyone, not worse. No one elects anybody for them to come in and make decisions that make our lives harder. And we have seen a lot of that. I am glad to hear you call it the corruption dome, because I have been struggling to come up with a name for it that's PC. So thank you for that. I'm keeping that, and we need to make sure that that doesn't stay a thing. And it has been something for far too long. And the road ahead of us is going to be hard. This is not going to be an easy task. This is a district that we knew we would have to chip away at, and we have been doing just that for years. In '24, they didn't think that we would pull it off. Well, they weren't wrong. However, during a devastating red wave, our team gained 8.5 points from 22 to 24. Of all the repeat candidates in Pennsylvania that year, only 20 of them gained ground. I think 16 of them, it was less than 1%. We came in second. We are the first campaign to flip any precincts at all since this seat flipped red so long ago. So we kept going, because of course we did. Giving up is not something that I do. I do not believe in impossible. I believe in finding a way. Many of you know my backstory. We know that when my children were born, they were born with a rare disease, and that's how I fell into politics, because a major component of their care was not covered. And I did not know anything about politics. Not unlike Carrie, I didn't know we had elections twice a year. I didn't even vote until I was 28 years old. I don't know why I sounded proud when I said that, because I'm really not. But I learned. They told me, stay home, just keep an eye on this bill that's in Congress. And it was a bill that would cover it for Medicare patients, and then therefore Medicaid, which is what my sons had. And also the hope was that the private insurances that set their standard with Medicare would cover it. And I don't really want to get too deep into the weeds with that. Nobody here has a weed whacker, and it's very, very boring anyway. Because my point is not what it would cover. My point is how we got it done. I was encouraged at first. Everybody has your back at first when you announce that you're going to do something. Yeah, go down to DC, go get him. I didn't even know who my congressman was. And it turned out that it was Matt Cartwright. And what I didn't know is that it was his first year. And I really like to measure how long I have been doing this for how long that he was in office. I'm still sad that he's not there anymore. His replacement is a Skyrim NPC. If you know, you know. But it was better for me to measure it that way, because if I measured it the other way, it would be how big my kids have gotten, and I did not age that quickly. But as time went on, this bill was introduced and reintroduced and reintroduced. And every year we had more co-sponsors, and every year we had more support, and every year it didn't get to the floor. And if it doesn't get to the floor for a vote, it does not matter. What I didn't know is that I wasn't just going up against the government. What I had to learn is that I was going up against healthcare lobbyists. And just so we're clear, I don't think healthcare should be an industry. It's a disgrace. And I worked in healthcare for a very long time. And so I started to figure out the political process, not the way that it's supposed to work, not the way that we think it works, but the way that it actually works. And 10 years later, we got it done. And over the years, I had so many people tell me that I was wasting my time. Your funds are so limited. Everybody knows that I am not a wealthy person. You could be taking your kids on vacation with that money instead of going down to DC every other year. You could be spending time in amusement parks. You could be creating memories, and all of those things are great and they are necessary, but if I do not stand up and fight for them, who is going to? Who's going to? That's my job. It's my job to make sure that they have the health care that they need. Unfortunately, it was the job of the government to say, yeah, you can have that. And as time went on, the more they tried to discourage me, the more I said, I can do this. Have you met me? All you need to do is tell me I can't do something. And I moved forward. And 10 years later, that bill got passed. They have coverage now, and so do millions of people across this country. And I tell this story that so many of you have heard so many times because I want to remind you that that is the tenacity that I bring to the table. That is the resilience that you will have from me in the State House. I am not going to give up. I do not get pushed around. For those of you who know me, maybe we can answer something really quick. Katie, you said something along the lines of, go in that room and speak out against them, even your own people. Do you guys think that I can do that? Yeah. Have we seen me do that? Yes. That's what it takes. And I'm willing to do what it takes. Sorry, I'm looking at Cliff Notes. I'm not reading this. You probably are able to tell that. I just want to make sure that there are some things that I don't skip. I've talked about corruption a lot on this campaign. And we know that that is the root of all of the problems, that we cannot get anything done unless we beat the money, because people have bought their politicians, and politicians pick their voters. And so many corrupt things happen because of money, because there is no limit. And until we address the campaign finance debacle, there should be a much stronger word from that. Forgive me, I don't know what it is right now. We're not going to get anything done. It is connected to almost every problem we face, because corruption is not just somebody taking a bribe. Corruption is what happens when an entire system becomes responsive more to wealth than to people. Corruption is what happens when elected officials know exactly what needs to be done, but lack the political courage to do it because powerful interests are standing in the way. We can have an honest conversation about what we need. We need to have meaningful property tax relief for homeowners. We need to have fair funding for our schools. We need to have health care that people can actually use. We need to have something in place to make sure that people aren't being taxed out of their communities. And none of these ideas are radical, and none of them are impossible. I don't believe in impossible. Most of them have broad public support. The question isn't whether we know how to solve the problems. The question is why they remain unsolved year after year after year. The answer is uncomfortable, but it's important. The people paying the highest price for these failures are not always the people with the most influence. People struggling with utility bills are not sitting in corporate boardrooms. People paying rising property taxes are not writing large campaign checks. People worrying about housing costs are not hiring lobbyists. The people whose kids attend underfunded schools are not funding corporate PACs. And if the government responded to people the way it responds to money, many of these problems wouldn't exist. There would be no need to solve anything. They don't work for us. One of the clearest examples of this, which I know everybody else touched upon, but I'm going to as well, is the conversation surrounding data centers. Throughout this campaign, I have spent a great deal of time at local meetings. I have spent a lot of time writing ordinances because I cannot trust our solicitor to do it the right way because they are not doing their research. We have the benefit of not being first. There are these monstrosities operating throughout the country, and we can learn from them. And instead, we are rushed as a municipality. Our townships, our boroughs, our cities are being held responsible for land use while the state is working to rip our right to control our land away from us. And I understand that a lot of this work might end up being moot if they are successful in that. So we need to make sure they're not. Vote for me. Because we can't be ripping away the power from our local government. And I was happy to work with the county. I have had people reach out throughout the Northeast, not just in my area. Because let's face it, it affects all of Pennsylvania. Not even just Pennsylvania, beyond. It's affecting us already. We're already shelling out energy to other states. We are powering these things in Virginia and elsewhere. Where are we going to find it to power it for us? Oh, that's right. We're going to frack some more. We're going to expand our coal operations. You know, I was at a summit about 2 weeks ago hosted by not a corporation. I don't do corporations. An organization called Lead Locally. And I had said to them, I grew up in the heart of coal country, and I live above the Marcellus Shale because I hit the environmental jackpot. Frack me. And now they want to bring these data centers here, and we're seeing them close. We see what's happening in Archbald. No, Archbald's not in my district. It's not even in Luzerne County. It is 35 miles from where I live. They haven't even got approval to have them yet, and they've torn down acres of land. I don't even know how many. I do know that it's about 14% of the area of the entire borough. They've leveled out the trees. They've demolished habitats for wildlife. And until recently, I didn't know this, and I'm still mad about it, and I'll never stop being mad about it. They killed the bears. For projects that they are assuming that they have approved. What do they know that we don't? They know whose palms they're greasing. I don't have greasy palms. I don't want greasy palms. It's gross. I am disgusted by the behavior that we are seeing all over the place with this. And they're signing NDAs? How? How is that happening? How is that transparency in government? We have... What was that? Yeah. We're supposed to have transparency. We pay you. So what are you hiding from us? And why are you hiding it from us? I think people deserve answers. I think communities deserve transparency. I think local residents deserve a seat at the table before the decisions are made, not after. And most importantly, I think the people who will live with the consequences deserve more consideration than the people who are set to profit from it. So I urge everybody to keep showing up. And I know that I'm being a little long-winded today, but while y'all have your phones out, put on Wednesday the 17th at 6 p.m. at the Dallas Area High School where we were having another zoning ordinance hearing. We need to pack that room. We need to send the message that we are not going to let this happen here. And I do go to a lot of them. They groan when I walk in the room. And if that ever stops happening, it means I've done my job or I've stopped doing my job. And I've noticed something with this. The louder we speak, the more we ask these questions, the more uncomfortable they become. Not because the questions are unreasonable, but because honest answers would force a conversation some powerful interests do not want to have. And if the people benefiting from the current system are unhappy with what we are doing, then we're probably headed in the right direction. This campaign is not about making powerful people comfortable. It is about making sure ordinary people have power. The political establishment wants us to believe that nothing will ever change. I've made that change. And I have seen time and time again communities rise together and be told you can't make change, and then be the very reason change happened. The road ahead is not going to be easy. And I know I said that earlier, but I'm saying it again because it is very, very true. The people benefiting from the current system are not going to give up. Their influence, they are going to cling to that. They are going to spend a lot, and they're going to spread a lot of doubt. They're going to tell us that change is impossible. I don't believe in impossible. I've done impossible things. Improbable? Maybe, but you keep fighting. You don't give up. You keep the tenacity. I'm going to skip a lot of stuff because I know what you guys know. I did beat the system twice. Yeah, so we all know that I ran in 2022. We had about $10,000 for a state race, which is absolutely pitiful. We got more than a third of the vote. And then in 2024, you know, I gained 8.5 points. But in 2024, something went off in somebody's head, and they said, you know what? We don't like this girl. We don't like what she has to say. We know we haven't cared about this district in a very long time. Who can we run against her? I beat their pick by 19 points in 2024. And we had a repeat in 2026. Not the same candidate. And we beat them by 15 points. When I won the primary as a write-in candidate in 2022, the incumbent launched one against me, and let's face it, he was popular amongst Democrats in the area. I beat him by double digits too, so I did it 3 times. The hard reality that I'm facing today is that we need more people on the ground. If we are going to flip this district, it's going to cost us money. And I know that everything is tight for everybody right now. And I know you heard Carrie say, we're going to double it today. If anybody has anything they can contribute, I would appreciate it, because it costs money to reach voters, and that's what we need to do. Our numbers have increased steadily because I knock on those doors. I talk to those people. I talk to everyone. And we all know me that I'm not afraid to knock on any door. I am the mother of 15-year-old twin boys. I fear nothing. So if you believe in what we're building, then I'm asking you to join us. Contribute what you can and help us take this fight all the way to November. Let's prove that the people they've counted out are the very people who will determine the future of Northeast Pennsylvania. Thank you for believing in this campaign. Thank you for coming out to support this campaign. Thank you for believing in our movement. Thank you for joining our movement. Now the job is to stay in it and keep it moving forward. And I know y'all are tired and want to go home, so I'm just going to thank you for your time. Oh. Thank you.